Good morning. Hello. And we say hi to everybody wherever you are this morning. We want to say welcome to a brand new edition of um, To a Radio broadcast. To a Radio is an African Action Network radio and television station. This morning we are glad to be here and we are happy to be here. And let us first say our hearts are with the people of Ukraine, and we are closely following that international development. Is a sad day for the people of Ukraine. We want to say, well, we hope that God be with them. We also hope that the NATO group will do all that it can to protect the good, loving people of Ukraine in this kind of situation as we see them going through their own crisis. Well, again, today we thought to bring you a very sensitive information. Is a discussion in the Liberian society, and it is a constitutional issue. What is that? It borders a situation that involved Brani Samukai. But we are not discussing it because of Brani Samukai. We are discussing it because of the Constitution, the organic law of the land. We are discussing this matter because we feel it has not rested and the issue is still being debated. The Supreme Court has a voice in this matter. Legislators have taken some action, but we think there are actions that are just wrong. They are not in line with what the framers of the Constitution intended. Hence, that is the reason why we think adding our voice or our voices to the debate is interesting. But I want to be very clear on this. This is a constitutional matter. It's not like some of these ordinary discussions. Hence, those who will discuss this must be people who are knowledgeable, who are schooled in the field or the discipline. This is a constitutional issue. Now, we asked the question, why is the Supreme Court of Liberia playing politics with this matter? We said the Supreme Court is playing politics because the Constitution is very clear on this matter. And we are wondering why the Supreme Court has not acted as mandated by the framers of the Constitution. This is an electoral matter. The National Election Commission is indeed the only institution that is clothed with the authority to conduct election in that country and announce election result. In the period of the electoral activities, that entire exercise is governed by the Constitution of Liberia. The first law, the first authority, the Constitution says the National Election Commission must conduct an election, and it lay out what to do, the procedure up to the end of the election, what is expected of the National Election Commission. Now, in this situation, we see the National Election Commission, we see the Constitution, we see Brani Samukai as the candidate involved in this matter. We have seen the senators taking action. We also have seen the Supreme Court herself have taken series of action in this matter. And then the president of Liberia has also added insult to injury. So with all of these parties, so you have the three branches of government are now involved in this matter. So then what we all should be doing is looking up to the Constitution and follow the letter of the Constitution, the intent of the framers. So then we feel that the only authority is the Supreme Court of Liberia. But the Supreme Court of Liberia must be very independent, and the Supreme Court of Liberia must be very sincere and must respect every inch of the Constitution and perform the duties as mandated by the Constitution of Liberia. Why are we saying all of these things? There was an election. Somebody will say we are repeating ourselves. This is what happened. People, you overly emphasize situation because you want the idea to go out there. You want what the law says to be understood by the people. So the issue is not about branding Samukai. It's about what the law says. The law mandates the National Election Commission to conduct election. Let's read to the point where election has been held and there was a complaint filed, and on what note can the Supreme Court comes in, and whether or not the action of the Liberian Senate is right. So we are discussing all of these matters so that we can point out what the Constitution says. We are not speaking as though we just want to talk, but the Constitution, some of us who have had the opportunity to study constitutional law, we feel that every word of the Constitution has an importance. So in this matter, let's follow what the Constitution has directed in this kind of a situation. And then we come to the point where the senators acted and also the president has taken action. And yet the issue is yet not resolved. Some may be thinking, oh, the issue is resolved. No, the issue is yet not resolved. And before we go, let's make this an opening statement. The Supreme Court needs to take charge of this matter. It is only that body that can declare Samukai's seat vacant, not the Senate. And we want to call on the Supreme Court to take seize of this matter because they have the constitutional mandate to do what they need to do, not the Senate. And that's another issue we will talk about. So what the Constitution says and what are the procedures laid down? Samukai went to election, or he applied to contest the election. His application was accepted. He was vetted, and he was qualified to take part into election. In the process of vetting Samukai, the Constitution expects that the National Election Commission at that point can deny anyone from participating into election. So the issue of Samukai being a criminal or taking ex-soldiers' money or soldiers' money, what have you, should have taken place at the time. Those who are concerned and knew after Samukai has announced that he's taking part in the election should have raised those issues, and the issues should have been considered by the National Election Commission to deny Brandon Samukai from participating into election. The fact that Samukai was not denied, the electoral process was being governed by the Constitution of Liberia. And of course, whatever the Constitution says about electoral laws, the Election Commission, first and paramount, is the Constitution of Liberia and then the electoral laws. Because the Constitution mandates for the National Election Commission to create an electoral laws. So every inch of the election, some we're talking about Samukai, is governed by the Constitution of Liberia. So election was held, Samukai participated, and Samukai was declared as a winner. Just a matter of explaining the facts. Samukai was declared the winner of the election. Some group decided to challenge his win. And because of that, they went to the National Election Commission, filed a complaint, and the National Election Commission took a decision that indeed Samukai has won the election. They were not satisfied. They took the appeal to the Supreme Court. So we started discussion from right here. What happens? What the Constitution says. So that our very first slide we have is say what the returns of the election shall be declared by the Election Commission not later than 15 days after the casting of ballot, that which was done. The National Election Commission did announce Samukai as the winner from the electoral field. All right. So it says, our second slide says, any party or candidate who complains about the manner in which the election was conducted, or who challenges the result thereof, shall have the right to file a complaint with the Election Commission. Now, let me give some emphasis on this part of the Constitution. All of these are from the Constitution of Liberia, right? So it says there are two reasons why a complaint can be filed with the National Election Commission. The act of criminality, of Samukai taking people money, extra money, all those things, you are being filed before Samukai would have taken part in the election. Samukai would have been denied. All of those who were sitting down there and knew that they wanted to deny Samukai should have filed a complaint at the earlier stage of the National Election Commission, because election is governed by the Constitution of Liberia. When it's like a bubble, when you're in that bubble, the only way you can be talking about other statutory issue is when you are out of the bubble. So as the fact that Samukai entered, he was qualified to enter into election. The entire process was being guided by the Constitution of Liberia. So it says on two counts that anyone who participates in the election can file a complaint on. And what are those two issues? Any party or candidate who complains about the manner in which the election were conducted. We said this before, but it's important that we keep emphasizing this because this is a very important issue. So the manner of election, let us assume someone won on the electoral field, the manner of election, people stole ballot boxes or whatever may have happened, this and that, and all those things. That would have been one reason why anyone would have filed a complaint. That Samukai, let us assume, not admitting that he did that, but let us assume that Samukai had people on the field that stole ballot boxes, or there was some ugly attitude on the electoral field. The manner and form in which election was conducted, any party would have challenged Samukai on that note. That's one general reason. That's what the Constitution says. That's a reason why people need to understand what the law says. The other reason is on the result, it says were conducted, the manner and form in which election was conducted, you can challenge the electoral process on that. Or on the result thereof, the result of the election. Let us assume the National Election Commission announced the electoral result. Like, for example, in the case of Samukai, that he won the election. The complaint that should have gone before the National Election Commission should have been a result of the result announced. Let us assume another party had a different tally sheet that did not correspond to the result announced by the National Election Commission. A party would have filed a complaint with the National Election Commission. All right? And when the complaint is filed by the National Election Commission, the Constitution narrates or mandated several things to be carried out. There are dates assigned when should someone file a complaint, when should the National Election Commission hear a complaint, and what should happen after the National Election Commission has resolved an issue. When a party is to take an appeal from the National Election Commission to the Honorable Supreme Court. So in that case, it says such complaint must be filed not later than 7 days after the announcement of the result of the National Election Commission. The Constitution gave everyone the opportunity to file a complaint within 7 days after the Election Commission should have announced the result of the election. In this case, the Samukai's win. We just laid the foundation and discuss the issue of who announces that Samukai's win or the senatorial seat for Lofa County is now vacant. So in this case, within the 7 days, any party would have announced that, in which whoever had a situation against Samukai's victory, had the right to file a complaint within 7 days. That's what the law says. Not just the law, but the Constitution. That's what it says. All right? And it says the Election Commission shall, within 30 days of receipt of a complaint, conduct an impartial investigation and render a decision which may involve a dismissal of the complaint. All right? Either a dismissal of the complaint by the Election Commission within 30 days of receipt of the complaint, conduct an impartial investigation, and render a decision which may involve a dismissal of the complaint. All right? So when the Election Commission receives a complaint, they have the right to investigate and conduct a series of hearings. And when those hearings are done, the Election Commission makes a decision and say, okay, you know what, they substitute an election or they just nullify the election based on their findings or their hearing, the hearing of the case that is filed before them. And at that time, the hearing officer is the National Election Commission has a hearing officer. And the hearing officer hears the matter, hears all of the facts, the evidence, the pieces of evidence, and from there, he reports to the Board of Commissioners. The Board of Commissioners themselves go through all of these proceedings, especially if there's an appeal from the hearing officer. The Board of Commissioners do convene and also hear the appeal by a party and announce the result, or they either affirm, sustain the hearing officer's decision, or they nullify that based on their findings. The Constitution set these premises and set timeline to all of these processes. So after the National Election Commission should have announced their decision, the Constitution gave a party a chance to go before the Supreme Court based on their own, either their acceptance or their denial. They go straight to the Supreme Court. They take an appeal. So when an appeal is taken, the matter goes to the Supreme Court of Liberia. And this is the crust of the matter. When the matter goes to the Supreme Court of Liberia, the Supreme Court hears the matter within 7 days. Within 7 days, the Supreme Court of Liberia hears the matter, hears the appeal that came from the National Election Commission. When the Supreme Court should have called the lawyers involved, set a date within 7 days, they should have done all of that. And then the Supreme Court, let me just emphasize, the Supreme Court should not go beyond 7 days. For the 7 days to be changed, it has to be a constitutional amendment. Anything short of that is a violation of the Constitution. When you go above the constitutional dates, there's no if and we don't bite our teeth on there is a violation of the Constitution. No date. If the Constitution says within 7 days, the Supreme Court must have heard a hearing or an appeal that goes before them, the Supreme Court, even if they do any other thing, they should suspend it and live by the mandate of the Constitution. So the Supreme Court heard this matter, the appeal, and they sustained Samukai's win. They said those who carried the appeal before them never had a case, and said Samukai was indeed the victor of the election. At that stage, the law says when the Supreme Court announces or sustain the decision of the National Election Commission, is sent down a mandate giving the National Election Commission to go ahead and certificate. The decision of the National Election Commission that goes before, in this case, Samukai case that went before the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court took a decision And the decision they took was that Samukai indeed won the election. So Samukai should have been certificated to go to the Senate for induction. But Samukai was not certificated. From there, the party or the Solicitor General, they all got into this matter. And there we see the political infusion into the constitutional issue. The Solicitor General, they filed a bill of information with the Supreme Court, bringing in a statutory argument that indeed Samukai was a convict, he was a thief, he stole money, and all of this stuff came about. And then this matter went before the court, and the court got involved into this matter. When the Supreme Court heard the bill of information, the Supreme Court decided that Samukai must go to jail. So, in that situation, there is a situation that the Supreme Court has not decided. And this is what we say, we ask the question whether the Supreme Court is playing politics with constitutional provision. Because let us assume that the Supreme Court decision on the bill of information was that Samukai go to jail. The Supreme Court had the opportunity to live by the word of the Constitution, to nullify Samukai's win and mandate the National Election Commission to conduct a new election. And this is what we found on the Supreme Court. Let us assume the Supreme Court decided, look, Samukai, yeah, you are a convict, you are a criminal. At this point in time, you cannot take a seat. The Supreme Court is the only body that should have announced that Samukai's seat was vacant at that point in time. From the bill of information, if the Supreme Court had any reason to believe that that bill of information has substance and that they needed to deny Samukai his seat and declare his seat vacant, it is the Supreme Court that should have denied Samukai's seat vacant at that point. And that's the crux of this morning discussion. Instead, the Supreme Court remained mute on that matter at that stage. All that we started doing is what? Samukai must go to jail, leaving the constitutional issue. The election is still hanging. As we speak, the election is still hanging. The National Election Commission has not been mandated by the Supreme Court of Liberia. And it is only the Supreme Court of Liberia that has the constitutional authority to mandate the National Election Commission, not the Liberia Senate. We will come to that to discuss that in full. But at that stage, where the Supreme Court is thinking or held that Samukai needed to go to jail for 2 years, the Supreme Court would have made a decision there and then and said, because Samukai is a convict, we, justices of the Supreme Court, mandate that Samukai's seat is hereby declared vacant. We nullify the election that was held in Lofa County, and we declared the national election, the election in Lofa County, the seat vacant, and we mandate the National Election Commission within 60 days, as mandated by the Constitution, to conduct a new round of election. The Supreme Court had that authority to do that. The Supreme Court having failed, we think we are believing that they are playing politics with the law of the land. The Constitution is clear. Even with the constitutional time laid down as to when to end election, the Supreme Court sat there until all of these data have been violated. All of it did. 7 days, there must be a complaint filed. Within 15 days, the National Election Commission must announce an election result, or must investigate the matter. 30 days, they must investigate the matter. And within 7 days, they must have, whoever have any reason to appeal, the matter, they need to take an appeal. Within 7 days, the Supreme Court must come down with a decision. And the decision is to what? To nullify or sustain an appeal. Decision of the National Election Commission. The Supreme Court did that. They sustained Samukai's win. At that time, at that stage, Samukai should have been certificated and allowed to be inducted into the Liberian Senate. But when the Supreme Court sustained Samukai's win, the National Election Commission did not, at the time, certificate Samukai. Because I know what happened in politics. People have midnight discussions. So in the face of all of those things, the Solicitor General, all of them get involved in this thing. Oh, that we're not taking a seat. I will do this, we'll do that. They got involved, they filed a better information. The better information goes before the Supreme Court. Politics step in. Now, let me say this. The Constitution says that there are two reasons when election is being conducted, let me repeat, election is conducted by the Constitution, is guided by the Constitution of Liberia. The statutory laws, setting other formalities, yes, we know that. But the force of election is very significant because it set the stage of a government. It put into place a government from President Clinton down. That's why nobody plays with election. That's the people's authority, how people should govern them. So we emphasize this morning that the Supreme Court, at the time they took a decision on the Bureau of Information, they needed to say whether that seat is vacant. As we speak, the Supreme Court, and some of us are challenging them or urging them that they still have that constitutional right to make a decision in this matter, not the Liberian Senate. The Bureau of Information, if you said Samukai was a criminal, Samukai should not be allowed to take a seat. It's used members of the Honorable Supreme Court, justices of the Supreme Court, that should announce their seat of Lofa County vacant. Your failure to declare Lofa County seat vacant has brought about a whole big argument where the president is coming in with claim and say, we're going to discuss that. All right? And we think that the Supreme Court still have that constitutional obligation to declare or sustain Brandon Samukai's win. It's not late. I know that's Liberia. Everybody let it go. But there's a clear law issue here. Did Samukai win election? You say yes, he won election. The issue of Samukai's being indebted, or what do you call it, debt or act of criminality, he want to bring the penal law into this matter, that, for God in heaven's sake, that is not an issue before the National Election Commission. It should not have been an issue before the National Election Commission. If the law says someone who is a convict cannot sit or cannot be a leader in Liberia, there's a way to go about it. There's a remedy. You need not to. Let me ask this question. Why, if George Weah went to 2023 election and he won an election, and at the election commission, somebody filed a criminal complaint against George Weah, will the National Election Commission hold on to George Weah's win until the criminal issue are resolved? Because that is possible, right? Anybody can pick up any document and say, okay, you know what? I have evidence that George Weah is involved in this. Now, out of criminality, it could be anything. There are a lot of things that we all know what crimes are all about, right? So anybody gets on and say, you know what? George Weah committed this crime. Do you think the framers of the Constitution intended that election would be withheld until that criminal decision is taken care of. No, the Freemasons did not anticipate that. If he did not disqualify the man he got into the ring or the bubble to contest, he should be allowed to participate. And if he wins, he wins. There's another stage of governance. The president can be impeached if there's any probable cause. Brandon Samukai can be removed if there's any reason. So why then did you all interfere in the electoral process? Why didn't you allow the electoral process to go on? And then the penal law would have been brought at the stage of the governance exercise. Can the penal law supersede the date that the election commission set? No, it should not. It should not. The election commission says after certain days, certain things must happen. And this, for God in heaven, said the supreme members of the justices know that. These dates that was set, they were not to be violated by the National Election Commission, neither by anybody. So all these dates have been violated. And we were speaking about it, that there's no fear about that because it is indeed what has happened. These dates have been violated. So who violated these dates, these laws, the Constitution? Who violated it? Every one of you. The senators, the Supreme Court, the National Election Commission herself that should be telling people, look, we have one more day, we have one more day. They all sat down there. These dates are all in violation. Conduct election in certain time, and now election result in certain time, or hear complaints from anybody in certain time. Let appeal be taken in certain time. Let the Supreme Court be investigate or hear an appeal in certain time. And thereafter, they must announce the result. And then there must be an election. The Supreme Court must take an action. And there's that action the Supreme Court has not taken. The Supreme Court has the duty, the constitutional duty, to declare Lofa County seat vacant or sustain Brandon Samukai's win. This is our emphasis. This is the reason why we're talking today. Anybody who think contrary, come on board. We gave you the platform. Come to Twitter Radio, you will discuss the matter. The Supreme Court is the only body that should declare Samukai's seat vacant. That scam at the Liberian Senate is an interference into the electoral process. And we hear somebody say, oh, the senator declared Samukai's seat vacant. Who are the senators that declare Samukai's seat vacant? The justices know that. The senators are wrong. The justices are aware that the senators are wrong. You know, Martin Luther King says, people are afraid to speak the truth because they don't want to lose their popularity. People are afraid to speak the truth because why? They don't want people to criticize them. People are afraid to speak the truth because they don't want to die. People are afraid to speak the truth because of their personal gains. But we are telling you, Senate justices, that in this matter, it is only you that can declare Samukai's seat vacant. Only you are justices that can declare Samukai's seat vacant. And you must take charge of it. All of what is happening, no. Senators don't have any right in the situation. You know that Samukai was not certificated. You justices know very well that Samukai was not certificated, that Samukai was not indicted. At that point in time, do the senators apply Article 37? You justices are cognizant of the law. You all are lay lawyers. Joseph Kaba, you know all of these things. Justice Nangbek, you know this. You've been a senator before. You know this. That the senators cannot, at this stage of election, and now that seat vacant. There's no politics about it. When you don't take an action, that means all of you guys are being politics with the law of the land. And somebody need to tell you people, you justices, when you thought within your wisdom that the better information that went before you guys was of sufficient reason for Samukai not to take a seat, why you did not declare Samukai's seat vacant at that point in time? Why you did not? Or who you thought had a responsibility to declare Samukai seat vacant? The senators? Is that what you justices is saying? It's not late, Senate or justices. Francis Coppola, your bench. You all need to do what the law says. We respect the opinion of the court. But we have right to discuss this matter when decisions are made by the court. We have a right to discuss this matter. There's in no way disrespecting any of you. But the issue here is an issue of law. And when lawyers are trained to say what a law is, there's no if and end that in this situation, the facts as presented from the electoral field, it is only you, members of the Supreme Court, justices of the Supreme Court, that have a say in this matter at this point in time. Let's look at Article 37 and see the senator's decision. Even the senators themselves, they are arguing among themselves. Because the president pro tempore, after the midnight decision, he got to the Senate and he wrote a communication to the National Election Commission, declaring Samukai's seat vacant. What law did he rely on? What law did he rely on? Article 37? Article 37 did not tell him that. Let's assume that indeed Article 37 was to be applied. Let me just play some blind eye. Let us assume Article 37 was to be applied. Who writes the National Election Commission? Now, some people, we're still arguing that. The law says the presiding officer of that institution, the Liberian Senate, is the vice president of the Republic of Liberia, who is president of the Senate. Not, and I say this, Abachie is not, once again, Abachie is not the presiding officer of the Liberian Senate. He can act in the absence of the presiding officer. When he acts, he's an acting presiding officer. Simple English. This is nothing about big law that people need to go for black law dictionary. And even if, and let me say this, if someone can take this matter to the ECOWAS court, he will win. Very likely, very, very likely he will win. So this is a matter we think the Supreme Court, you stay in the ambit. I mean, the dates are all being violated or being disrespected, but besides that, the issue still remains. You justices, whatever you say in this matter, we can listen to you guys. So who declared the seat vacant? You sit down there, then somebody say, okay, you know what? Since I'm president pro tempore, I can declare the seat vacant. Your way. Tonight, okay, yeah, we agree. Yeah. Tomorrow morning I will declare the seat vacant. Then he gets up. He go to work, call the Secretary of the Senate. Okay, I'm hereby mandating the National Election Commission to conduct election in 60 days. Who told him that? Isn't there a man in the land to tell Abachie that he's not the one to have done that? The senators themselves, when you are relying on what the law says, there's no fear to tell someone the truth. Abachie is not the presiding officer of the Liberian Senate. He acts when the president of the Senate is absent. That's what the Constitution says. Except in the respect of the Constitution, before you will go and do all the conning things. The senators themselves, I'm sure they said Abachie was arguing that, yeah, in Article 37, he's the presiding officer. Go and read, when you read Article 37, don't read Article 37 alone. Ask yourself, who is the presiding officer of the Senate? There's answer in the very Constitution, but not Article 37. Article 37, when you say a presiding officer, the presiding officer, not a. It said the presiding officer. In constitutional law, when we were pensing, the professor said, even the command that you have in the Constitution has a purpose. It's purposefully written that the presiding officer must declare a seat vacant, not a presiding officer. Everyone, and when you read Article 37, it further tells you that when you read about the pro tem, why he hired as presiding officer, it tells you that what the president pro tempore. The president of the Senate is the presiding officer of the Senate. The president pro tempore presides in the absence of the president pro tempore. The president pro tempore and other officers, meaning that other officers, all of those in the line of being in administration at the Liberia Senate can preside. But they are not the presiding officer of the Senate. They are not the presiding officer. When the emphasis is laid, the presiding officer of the Senate is the president of the Senate, Joy Howard Taylor. You know, Joy is in a low, tight situation. We understand all the politics in there. So she can't talk. I know she can be happy when we're talking something, but we're not talking because we feel what Joy Howard Taylor in this situation. But the fact now is she is the presiding officer. So some of you want to argue this and that. The word THE has a very powerful meaning in that. So Joy Howard, even Joy, the constitution within 30 days, they must come. Let us assume this Samukai was one of them, and they want to declare a seat vacant and say within 30 days. So on a particular day when if Joy was not in session and Albert Chair presided, that doesn't give me any right to even say, okay, I was a presiding officer, so I'm going to write a Senate. They say within 30 days, the presiding officer must write the Liberia Senate, the National Election Commission. So within 30 days, Joy is in the country. Joy is now sick. She's the presiding officer of the Senate. She's the presiding officer of the Senate. Maybe people never took note of that constitution. Y'all go here and read the constitution. Say the presiding officer. She is the president of the Senate. Is the presiding officer of the Senate, not a presiding officer. If it said a presiding officer, it means anyone can be a presiding officer. But it says what? The presiding officer of the Senate. So when somebody, if I given an exam to senator, I say, who is the presiding officer of the Senate? If you say Abachi, I will fail you. I will fail you. I will give you F. You will not graduate. Because when I ask you who is the presiding officer of the Senate or who is a presiding officer of the Senate, your answer will be what? Either Abachi or any officers in line of authority. Sebi Abachi is not the only emphasized person who can be a presiding officer. He can be a presiding officer. The executive committee chair can be a presiding officer. Foreign affairs committee chair can be a presiding officer. But when they are a presiding officer, they are not the presiding officer that are supposed to write the National Election Commission. Hello? When they are a presiding officer, they have no authority to write the National Election Commission. Now, somebody says the administrative matters is handled by. Yeah, we don't dispute that. The president pro tempore, he's the head of administration when it comes to the Senate activity, looking at budget, looking at committee, this and that, and all of those stuff. They have all of those things to be done. But when the Constitution emphasizes a particular duty to be performed, it's very clear. It doesn't bite the tongue. Or the framers did not even, when those who write constitutional issues, they don't write because they favor somebody or they don't like somebody. So every word of the Constitution has meaning. You don't apply it because you like somebody or you don't like somebody. Banning somebody, I don't know him from anywhere. He's not, I don't know, I've never met him before, one-on-one to sit down with him and talk to him. Somebody will say, why Johnson is, and somebody was asking, Johnson, why you somebody banning? It's not about banning Samukai, it's a law. It's a law. So that Fiamomo thing the senators did, they said, Liberia, you want to look at in a crocodile, you think you let it go. But it's wrong. Abachi has no right. He's not the presiding officer of the Senate. So he should not. I'm hearing that he's arguing, and I'm glad that they all listen to 2A radio, but their argument doesn't hold. He's not the presiding officer of the Liberia Senate. And now let me see that this will not be a public decision. That's one thing we learned when we were studying constitutional law. If you do a very thorough research, let us assume you had a case, you did a very thorough research, and you found the law that controls a set of facts and answers an issue, that decision will not be a public decision. Because it's like from your thorough research, you found a piece of law that answers a very significant question into a set of facts that are given you. In this matter, when it comes to who declares a seat vacant, when election is conducted and a complaint is filed, and that complaint goes before the Supreme Court of Liberia, and the Supreme Court will take a decision, who declares a seat vacant? The answer is in the Constitution. The Supreme Court of Liberia has the ultimate authority to declare the seat vacant. And we are not betting our tongue on that. It's all about the law of the land. Those of you who in that country, now when things keep going wrong, a lot of things can happen. Now you see from that thing too, another major decision was taken, and you see Georgia comes out. People are not even afraid to violate the Constitution. That thing that Georgia did should not have happened. He has the constitutional right to declare clemency. There are few instructions or mandate of the Constitution. You see, when let's assume there's a military conflict in Liberia, and he wants to declare war. He can leave Liberia until his how you call his minister of state or any of his deputies, not deputies, any of his officials to act in his stead. It's a duty to be performed by the president. What was most significant for the president to go see about football stadium being whatever? What does that have to do with you having a mind to order an executive clemency? Then you tell the minister of state to do that. It's not the minister of state duty. Or why didn't you hold this matter until you return? And then you ordered executive clemency. When you're supposed to declare war, you're supposed to announce that in the major faction. Do it with seriousness. When it comes to executive clemency, the seriousness of that is to what? Ensure justice in the face of mercy. Now, executive clemency is not in itself just placed in the Constitution that anybody can get up. Maybe, Joey, I don't care. You're flying, going to Senegal, you want to see some major football, stadium, dedicating whatever they call it in Senegal. So, Joe, the president of Liberia is going there. Now, okay, executive clemency, you know why? Yeah, you know why? When I leave, just, man to put and tell the people, say, I'm not granting executive clemency. That's not how it works. There is seriousness to that constitutional mandate. Because the end of justice is very important when it comes to governance. It comes to the people welfare. Serena Seaforth, all these people, I think Serena Seaforth needs to have some scholarship and go outside to study further. Because I think he's doing more harm. His piece of advice, and this is not sprinkling out in the public view. Executive clemency, in fact, whether the Justice Ministry has processes or a procedure as to how. Now, there's always an informal executive clemency and a formal executive clemency. Whatever context, the Constitution says executive clemency. So the executive clemency, you should be studying what is executive clemency. There are how many kinds of executive clemency? The Constitution did not give you all of those things. So either the lawmakers themselves should look at that, the seriousness of what an executive clemency is, and would attach or explain the procedural steps as to what needs to be done. In other jurisdictions, like in America, executive clemency is not taken very lightly. As we speak, Joe Biden executive clemency is being widely discussed. And it's not being discussed because he about issue one, but they take it very seriously. So legal minds are discussing Biden's opportunity to declare executive clemency. You know why they do that? At the end of his tenure, they look at the seriousness of this matter, and then there are procedures. Now, there are a lot of criminals behind bars. You don't just wake up one morning because you feel like you want to bring politics into all these legal matters, and you just gonna say, you know what, we declare executive clemency. No, no, no. There are procedural steps need to be taken into consideration. When some of us hear that, we ask series of questions. On one note, what is the main purpose? What is job we are trying to achieve? You say bicentennial, that's the only reason of Liberian love one another and blah blah blah. You take those action. But what is the importance? What is Bernie Samukai's decision? At, at what level is the state, the country, suffering from Bernie Samukai's decision for we an executive clemency? You have very important issues. Now, let's say this. We are not saying the president of Liberia doesn't have the right to declare executive clemency. That's not what we're saying. George Weah has the right to declare executive clemency. But there should be procedures to go. Because you know why? Right now, he's talking about, if you look at the executive clemency, the wordings that is up there are some missteps. Because when you declare executive clemency, you restore the right of the person. In this case, Brian Samukai rights have been restored. You declare executive clemency, then after that you say the Justice Ministry must bring 500 names. Why didn't you ask the Justice Ministry to give you 500 names from the onset, vet all of those inmates, and give you 500 names? But after you declare executive clemency, then you give them instruction, they must give you 500 names. That just signal to all that, something is just not right. All right? You did it for political expediency. That's the only reason why you did that. Even with that, you didn't calculate very well. Because as it stands, you have restored the right of Brandon Samukai. The next questions we are asking is, after you have done that, you obligate the National Election Commission to certificate Brandon Samukai. Someone want to argue on that. The issue, as far as we're concerned, is not yet resolved. It's still with the National Election Commission. The National Election Commission have not written the Liberian Senate say, okay, you know what? Because they themselves know the Senate are not the one to get another instruction. If you have those commissioners, you have a good lawyer among them, or you have a good lawyer guiding them, tell them, say, you know what, don't write them. Because they are not the one to write to. You will keep the discussion going. So it's a discussion that's ongoing that which is, okay, you know what, we just declare executive clemency. Declare executive clemency, you restore Samukai's right as a Liberian, bona fide Liberian. You put in the position he was when he was the status quo. You tell the election commission, say, okay, revert to status quo empty. Where you were before the matter went before the Supreme Court is where you should return. If you declare, okay, I think we're having some. So, we are stuck here. And so there's nothing we can do, probably end the broadcast. So those of you who've been watching, we say thank you so much. We don't know what's going on here, but we okay. So at this stage, all we do is to end the broadcast because we have some technical issue this morning. But those of you who still watching us, we want to say thank you for being there, and we appreciate each and every one of you for whatever that is of interest. And we say that's how we ended this morning. And we hope to join you next time and bring you a new edition of Inside Liberia. We don't know why we have gone so blank. I think this is the camera. But once again, we said this is where we are, and we still want to challenge members of the Supreme Court to do the most honorable thing, and that they will do what they're supposed to do. And then we just want to caution everybody or call on them that they need to take charge of this matter. This matter is not for the Liberian Senate, all right, to make a decision in. So whatever we do is our emphasis on the law. All right. We had a little technical issue here. I cannot see myself, but I think this is just all a technical thing. This is all a technical thing. So we just want to emphasize that, hey, this is how far we come. And it's important that members of the Supreme Court, justices of the Supreme Court, take seize of this matter. It is they who are clothed with the authority to declare Samukai seat vacant, not the Liberian Senate. Even senators themselves, in the eye of the public, they have made some major errors. There's nothing wrong. There's governance. Everybody, to err is human. The senators themselves need to correct the mistake. I'm sure we have a lot of some people in the Liberian Senate, and we think they can control whatever is taking place at the level of that August body. But once again, our emphasis is that they need to do the most honorable thing and say who the presiding officer is, even assuming that they're supposed to take an action. It should be under the signature of the vice president, who is the president of the Senate, the presiding officer of the Senate. All right. So for the Supreme Court, who to declare that seat vacant, we strongly believe the Constitution says it. It is the Supreme Court. So we challenge members of the Supreme Court to take seize of this matter and declare the seat vacant, or allow some kind of be seated. On the clemency issue, which I was emphasizing, and that was just in passing of this matter because he has an attachment. Judge Weir has a right to declare executive clemency, but clemency in the study of constitutional law, there's two kinds of clemency. One is informal, one is formal. And for this one, I think it was an informal way. So whatever is being said, we think very strongly that the president of Liberia should have announced the clemency, not his deputy. This is a major function, constitutional mandate, that he should declare executive clemency, not direct some of his officials to. If they wanted to, the law would have said it. The law would have said it. The law did not say that. When there are emphasis on major, like as I said, and this is just in closing, if there is the need to declare war in that country, the president cannot tell any of his officials to go and do it. He can't. He can't. So with these matters, there has been a lot of missteps. And when you bring politics into law, that's what happens. Everybody get confused. People do whatever they want to do. And we want to commend the Supreme Court for that decision it took recently to tell the lower house that what the senators did, they were in the right. We started discussing that earlier, and I'm glad that the Supreme Court was able to rule that the senators have right to introduce financial bill like what, because the Constitution says it. When people take their time and read the Constitution sometimes and ask for interpretation, you might just be right. You might just be on the right course of governance. So we just want to say, hey, thank you so much, those of you who've been watching us. We say this has been good to have you with us. And we think this is something that is for eye-opening the society, and society can be better when all of us are prepared to say what is truth and what is right. Once again, we say thank you for being there. This has been Two-Way Reader, and of course, I am James Jensen. We've been sitting here this morning, and we just thought to add our voice to what the Constitution says, and then whatever happening, we still watch everybody. You can do what you feel like doing. Well, yeah, that's it. Thank you, and have a pleasant day. Until next time, we'll meet right here. Have a good day. Bye for now.